Hey there, YouTube. Estacado 5000 here. What's up? Here's episode 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! Retro Format Card of the Week. And the feature card in this episode is Chaos Emperor Dragon Envoy the End. It's a dark attribute, level 8 dragon type monster with 3,000 attack, 2,500 defense. And its effect is this card can only be special summoned by removing one light and one dark monster in your graveyard from play. Pay 1,000 life points to send all cards in both players' hands and on the field to the graveyard. Then inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent's life points for each card that was sent to the graveyard by this effect. So this card is very nasty, one of the most nastiest monsters in the old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Format era and in the GOAT control format. Basically, when this card is summoned, you pay 1,000 life points. Every card on the field and in both players' hands go to the graveyard, and your opponent takes 300 points of damage to the life points for every card sent to the graveyard by that effect. So it's a very nasty card. So if there's a lot of cards on the field, on both sides of the field, and in both players' hands, your opponent can lose a good amount of life points really quick. It's pretty crazy. But this card has its benefits and also its risk. It's like a risk and reward card. So the risk of this card is if you're very low on life points, but you still have enough to activate the effect, and if you don't draw a monster during your next turn, if they don't summon anything, and then the next turn after that, if they summon something, they can defeat you. You know what I mean? So it's like a double-edged sword, but it's a very good card. It was one of my favorite monsters during that time. The reason why it got banned during the GOAT format, because it was just too powerful. Because basically, if your opponent's life points are low enough, you could just summon this and win the game. So, like I said, it's a very nasty card. Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning was also nasty, along with this. But this card was far worse than Blackluster Soldier, because during the early stages of the GOAT control format, when this card was summoned, your opponent had less than like maybe 2,000 life points. They basically lose the game. The only things that could stop the summon of this at the time when this card was out was Horn of Heaven and Solemn Judgment, because they negate the summon before you can use the effect of this card. Because Solemn Judgment, it basically is you pay half your life points, you negate the summon or the activation of a spell and trap card or an effect of a monster and destroy it. So if the summon gets negated, you can't use Chaos Emperor Dragon's effect. It's the same thing with Horn of Heaven. But Horn of Heaven's a little more costly in a way because you have to tribute a monster to use the effect. But I think Horn of Heaven was better than the Solemn Judgment, because Solemn Judgment, you still have to pay half your life points. And even if this goes to the graveyard, they summon something else, they can still defeat you. So the only two cards that could stop this summon and they can't use the effect at the time this card was out in the early years was Solemn Judgment and Horn of Heaven, basically. Because if they use cards like Torrential Tribute or Bottomless Trap Hole or something like that, they could still use the effect. But Solemn Judgment and Horn of Heaven could negate the summon and they can't use the effect. But other than that, if they didn't have those cards on the field and this was summoned, they pretty much lose the game regardless half the time. But like I said, it's a risk and reward card because like you have to summon a monster next turn and defeat them pretty quick. It's just pretty crazy. So it's one of my favorite cards. It's back out in the format today, but it's not that effective anymore, obviously. But still a pretty good card in GO control tournaments. So yeah, that's the episode. Hope you all enjoy. More videos coming soon. Comment, like, and subscribe. Later, guys.